Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Elevate, where we strengthen our relationships so we can elevate our lives.
Let's get it. Episode 98. I got this video I found on TikTok. Let's react to it real quick.
So this new trend about being like a hood parent raising suburban kids, like that's me and my children's father. We grew up in the same area, and it's considered like one of the hood areas in the state that we're from. And now we're raising like suburban children. And it's funny because sometimes I think we'll get frustrated at them for not being as mature as we were at their age. But truth be told, that is an indicator that we did what we were supposed to. We were mature because we were exposed to trauma that forced us to be mature. Our kids have been kids their whole lives. They haven't had to face the same trauma. And it's like, I'll never forget the first time I saw a video on that, and I was like, oh my God, they're right. Like, because my kids are still like immature and kids, it means like we did it. And it's so crazy because I remember the first time I saw it, and I remember how emotional I got because I was like, dang, I never thought about it that way. How we were raised in such trauma that we had to be like little adults, whereas our kids just get to be kids. And sometimes I'm like, why do you do that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, because you're kids and you're supposed to think like that, and you shouldn't have to have the maturity to know better at the age you're at, because you shouldn't have experienced the things that would make you be mature in that way. It is very satisfying to know that, because I think I suffered a lot of guilt having them because I was young. But now I realize, even though I was young when they were born, like we did it. We did it. We are hood parents raising immature suburban kids just the way we're supposed to be.
Are you getting emotional?
This is...
Damn. I feel like I didn't watch the whole video. I listened to a little bit, and then I was like, this is going to be a good reaction video. Because I didn't want to kind of like spoil it for myself.
It's not a good time for this type of video.
Oh, damn. Jessica's hormones, it's that time. It's approaching. Bear with us as we take this moment of silence to salute you young kids out there.
I'm gonna look crazy to some people.
Yeah, we just came from church. I definitely consider myself as a hood parent. I don't know about you. I mean,
We're definitely hood parents. I mean, we grew up in the hood.
I mean,
Hello.
You grew up in the hood, but you wasn't really out your house.
You still are exposed to that life.
I guess.
I don't feel like as a child I had to grow up. I wasn't like put through like significant trauma.
I think
to
you was good. I mean, you was raised in the hood and you was exposed to things.
But I do feel like you grow up faster in the sense that, like your parents are expecting a lot from you, because, they like came from another country to like give you a better life. So it's always about like, you need to like be this person here because this is why I came to this country. And I feel like even still, like as an adult, you feel that pressure to like live up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess they're right. Like, if you have a child who just is immature, like they should be because they're kids, sometimes we expect too much maturity from them when it's like, let them be a kid.
Yeah, now we'd be like, oh, these kids nowadays are soft. It's like,
yeah,
they are soft.
We see it. Yeah.
I mean, we say it. Like,
we see it that way.
Yeah.
We see it that way because, again, if you grow up in the hood, even if you yourself, let's say, were lucky enough, like myself, to have both parents in the home that got along, and I had a pretty normal childhood. We had I didn't have a lavish life. I didn't grow up with wealth, but I was okay compared to maybe a lot of people around me. But you still see, the way that other kids around you act. So even if you're not like that, you can see the trauma in other kids.
Yeah, definitely. Because, for example, like our Armani, he's our son. He's going to like 6th grade. And I remember like when I was going to middle school, like I was already exposed, not me doing it, but like in that school, like there was gang banging, like there was fights all the time. Like that, those were the things I was like, oh shit, like freshmen and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, I'm not even worried about. Like Armani probably doesn't even understand what the word gang banging means. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Mama, we made it.
It is. I mean, it's a great thing,
Yeah.
right? It's, I guess, because of, let's say, our past experiences growing up, us as parents today, we can feel like, you know, a lot of parents refer to it as our kids are too soft, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's like our internal trauma talking, you know, like you shouldn't be this soft at this age. Like they should, they're kids. Like,
Well, that's
for
because,
example, our son is 10.
Mm-hmm.
He should not be, you know, worried about, I don't know, fights or.
Yeah. I mean, I just
like
think that like even that mentality of vocabulary only exists in the hood, because in these suburbs, like you don't even hear that. Like, yo, these dudes are soft. Like that's just everybody's soft.
They're just living a soft life.
They're,
right?
No, they're living like actual humans. Like there's not like yo,
like it's supposed to.
Like you're
be.
hard, you're soft. Like it's just no. Like we just are.
That
humans.
is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you know, depending on how you grew up, you may see it as the kid is not as strong as they should be,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they're not running from anything. They're not scared of anything. Thank God, you know. And at the end of the day, most of us parents, we work hard to have a better life for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted our kids to have a soft life, but then when we actually see it, we're like, wait a minute, is that what that's supposed to be like?
And we kind of see it like now, you know, I'll like fluff it up, but we notice like some of Armani's friends or like kids he knows, like the difference in like the way they speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could tell like
who's around maybe older kids,
or
who
who's being like bad influence. Not that he's allowed to be anybody with bad influence, but you could just kind of tell, like what they're watching or like what they're listening to. And Armani just be, how to say, a deer with no headlights.
Which it's like sometimes you could tell like when a kid is too exposed to things, you know, they don't seem so innocent or like childlike, and then you can see the other kids who are like not there yet. For sure. That's why we as parents need to be very careful, and we need to talk to our kids about things, you know. And I feel like now, especially, actually all the time, because even when I was growing up, I feel like parents needed to get a head start in talking about, you know, the dangers, talk about like just everything that could put your child in an endangered position, so that they know, you know, what to look for, what's normal, what's not. Because if you don't tell them yourself as a parent, other people outside will, and you want it to come from your mouth first so that they're not surprised by anything, and so that they know, you know, like, okay, this wasn't normal. Like if anybody is inappropriate with them or is having inappropriate conversations with them. I'm approaching that with Armani. I've had like little conversations with him about like, you know, because.
But he still feels like you could tell like when you even mention something, he's kind of like, ew, like, why are we talking about this?
Yeah. I don't want to take it too far because I feel like he's not ready for certain conversations.
Because he's not aware at all.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're kind of going to plant that seed for him to like even be curious about it.
Right. I think once he goes into middle school, we're going to have to, you know. But at least, for example, I keep it at his level. For now, like he started wanting to like FaceTime his friends through my iPad. And I allowed him to. I gave him permission. I said that he could because it seemed like all his friends in his class would talk through FaceTime, right? And they would like play games together while FaceTiming each other. And he was like the only kid in class who didn't FaceTime, right? Because he doesn't have a phone. So I said, okay, you can FaceTime them through my iPad. I mean, the calls go through my phone. He doesn't have a cell phone. But I also didn't want him to feel like he was completely left out.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I kind of allowed it. And he's such a good kid. Like, he does excellent in his school. Anytime that we speak to his teachers, they only have amazing things to say about him. So, you know, I feel like there's no reason for me to have said no to that. His behavior in class is always great. Like, I never get any complaints. So at that point, I was like, you know what? It's fine. Like, I trust you.
If it changes, though, we have a problem.
Exactly. I just laid the rules down for him. I was like, I'm going to allow this because I feel like I can trust you. I feel like you're grown enough to FaceTime your friends. But, you know, this is a privilege.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is a privilege. So he's a good kid. Like, he gets it. And, you know, now he be playing his games, like, with his friends. And they be, like, texting through the iPad sometimes. And, you know, I just had to, like, also, like, get a little conversation with him. Like, Armani, you understand that, you know, texting your friends back and forth, you know, like, I trust you. I know that you're not going to have any type of inappropriate conversations. I know you, but I don't know other people. So you know what's right and you know what's wrong. If there's anything that, you know, you feel like it's wrong in a conversation, like, feel free to tell me, or, you know, just understand that just because it happens through text doesn't mean it's appropriate.
Yeah.
You know, and I also make it very clear, like, this is not for you to be texting random people you don't know. Like, that is a complete no. So I just want him, like, I had a little conversation in order for him to understand that safety is important even through the internet.
We should do like I mean, he's not going to be in that school for long, but if they end up, like, continuing to talk, like, we should make, like, a group chat with the parents and just be like, hey, we're here. Just let us know anything going on. Like, anything fishy going on. But
I try to, like, you know, I also have, like, I want to have a relationship with his friends, you know, and, like, I pop in here and there and, like, hey guys, you know, I don't, you know, I want to be friends, you know, with my child's friends, even though they probably look at me like, you're a mom, like, we don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, they're still like, I feel like that's like a high school age.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm always very aware, as aware as I possibly can be. I know that I'm not going to be there for everything, you know, and that's why I try to equip him and I try to raise him the right way so that when I'm not there, I can be confident that he'll make the right choice. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Our kids can be soft if they want to.
Super soft.
That means, like she said, that means we're doing something right? They're not afraid for anything. You know, they're not out here trying to be in gangs. They're not out here, you know, just doing things that children shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Just don't mistake his parents, though. Get fucked up. What do you think are their biggest challenges right now? Like, we know what our challenges was when we was growing up in the hood. What do you think are the challenges? Are there any from, like, growing up?
I think the biggest challenge that this generation that's growing up is facing is the internet.
So, like, ours was the streets and these kids is the internet.
I feel like with this generation is more a mental struggle with the internet and how much things they're exposed to. That's why it's our job to make sure that they're not being exposed to things that they're not being they shouldn't be exposed to.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of parents are hesitant, including myself, to give our children a cell phone too young. Mm-hmm. Because although my children are not completely shielded from the internet, I don't want them to be. I don't want them to be fully shielded because I know that's unrealistic and the internet is everywhere. But I don't want to be the one giving them the device, like, here, just
do what you please.
Knock yourself out. Yeah. Like, you know, as adults, we have trouble controlling ourselves with the scrolling and constantly being on a device. Imagine asking a child to have that type of control. We even have a hard time when we're adults.
That's a fact.
So that's why I'm just so hesitant. Like, he doesn't need to have an iPhone. And it's like, it's hard because I get it. Like as a kid, you see everyone has a phone and you don't. You're like, I feel like I'm left out now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm looking into it. There's like a lot of different
family control.
Yeah,
control.
like I'm looking into it. There's this
really?
page that I started following that talks about like how to make sure your kids are safe online or through their phone, and ways you can like have a lot of parental control with the devices. I feel like that's super important. And a lot of people are gonna their opinion is you can't shield your child. But as a parent, it is my job to keep my kids as safe as possible. And I know having the internet and just having that access 24/7 is not a safe thing.
Yeah, and going back to a little bit to the way like parents interact with their kids, like it's cool to treat your kid as like, you know, not just like so strict, like I'm your parent, and like have that connection with them, but it crosses a line where you guys think like you're like bros, and like from young you start like nurturing that. And what happens is that we already got to deal with them when they grow up into teens, like just becoming teens.
Yeah.
But if you start that from young, that they feel like, oh, we're just bros, and like I'm exposed to whatever you're exposed to, and like
there's no difference.
And the conversations that you're in, like I can be in, and then you're a child, is like when they're a teen, like
you're not gonna be able to control them
at all.
And
because
then,
now they're just like, oh,
and then at that point you're gonna be fed up. How do I deal with this child? At that point is not late, but it's gonna be way more difficult for you to try to control a kid who thinks they know it all. I mean, have we all not been teens? We feel like at 16, 17-year-old, we know everything. We feel like we're the smartest people. And we might be mature. You know, some teenagers are more mature than others, but we're still not experienced in life.
Yeah.
And we need to start nurturing that relationship with our kids from a very young age to make them understand, hey, I know you are your own person and you are in all your right to have your own thoughts and your own opinions, but my job as your parent is to parent you. My job as your parent is to be here making sure you're safe in every aspect. That is my job until you become an adult. And then I trust that I raised you right to choose right from wrong. Now, even when you're a child and you're a teenager, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a professional. These are just my opinions.
We're parents.
Yeah. Even as a teenager, you know, like, I know I'm not going to be there with you 24/7, and I have to trust that I teach you right in my house to make the right decisions when you're not in my home.
Yeah.
But when you're in my home and I know of something that you may be doing wrong, I'm in all my right to tell you that you're wrong and you can't do something because it's not good for you. You may have your opinion about it. You may fuss about it, but that is my job as your parent.
Yeah.
My job as your parent is not to just allow you to do as you please. Maybe for certain examples that from outside looking in as a parent, maybe I can see that it's not that big of a deal, and if you fall, it won't be that hurtful and you can get back up. I can let you learn through experience, but that doesn't apply for everything.
Yeah, and too, like when you're actually like disciplining, is that a word? Disciplining? Sounds like a word. We're gonna make that a word.
I'm in deep thought right now. I can't think.
You know, explaining to them. I'm not actually the greatest at this. You're very good at this with them. Like when they do something that shouldn't have happened, like you break down exactly why.
Yeah, because
I do it sometimes, but you're definitely
a lot of the information that I've learned, you know, listening to like psychologists, children, therapists, I realized that it's not enough for you to tell your child, you can't do that just because I say so. You need to tell your child, you can't do that because X, Y, and Z. And it's not because, you know, you owe them an explanation. But no, as a parent, you need to understand that you want them to understand why they shouldn't be doing this.
Because they actually don't know.
You're right, exactly. And so by you just telling them you can't do this because I say so, what happens when someone tells you you can't do it because I say so? You get mad. You get mad and you don't want to listen. You're not going to comprehend. You're just going to be frustrated at the fact that you're just controlling me. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be helpful for you. It's not going to be helpful for the child. So just coming from that approach of just, you can't do that because I say so, is the wrong approach. I say you can't do that, but I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
And if at that moment you're too, rattled up or crying, like let's say maybe Zena, she would cry, I'm like, okay, whatever, like let it out, just cry it out. I'm like, come over here. Let me talk to you. Do you understand why I said that? And I explained, like, you were fighting with your brother about something that belonged to him. If he had something that belonged to you and I told him he could take it away from you, would you be okay with that? So I would like explain to her why. And trust me, they're smart. They're going to get it.
I mean, you're explaining to them, they have no option. They have no choice but to get it.
Yeah. And then, I also like to, at the end of it all, like give her a hug or him a hug. Like, I love you. I still love you. Like, this doesn't mean I don't love you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as parents, sometimes we know that we love our kids. So we feel like I don't have to tell you that. But your child needs to hear it. Yeah. Like, they need to hear it. Especially after you've, let's say, disciplined them and they feel like you don't love them anymore,
Especially when you got two, because it's like if one of them gets in trouble and then you're mad at them and then you're all lovey-dovey with the other one, it's kind of like.
Especially if it had something to do with the other child. Yeah. It could kind of create some resentment. Mm-hmm. One kid could have resentment with the other kid. And I am very careful about that with my kids. I try to be fair with both of them, that, sometimes as parents, let's say we're inclined, like if we have a smaller child and then the other one's like, let's say 5 years older, like it is in my case, he's 4 years, almost 5 years older than Zena. Sometimes we're inclined to say like, ay, Armani, come on, like stop fuzzing about that. Like just give it to her. She's smaller than you. She don't get it. But what that, in my opinion, what happens with that is that it tells Zena, it sends Zena a signal that, well, I'm the small one, so I'm going to get everything my way all the time. Right?
She definitely feel that way sometimes.
And then it sends Armani the signal of, well, I'm the oldest one, so I always get the short end of the stick. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to be the one that has to deal with everything, and that's not fair.
Yeah, and when he does do it, like let's say he's doing something and he's kind of like trying to be at her age level, we tell him like, this makes no sense. Like, you're 10, she's 5. Like, this is why she should have it. Although this is yours, let's say a toy that you haven't looked at in the last 6 years, like it's okay because
yeah. But even then, she's a child. I tell him that sometimes. But even then, even though I know he hasn't played with that toy that he's arguing with her about, I haven't been letting her keep it because she likes to do the same thing to him. And you know what? That's his. Yeah, if he doesn't want you to play with it, you cannot force him to give it to you.
I'm the opposite. Because at the end of the day, he's older. So,
but then you put that responsibility and that weight on him, that because he's older, he needs to give her his toy.
No, but he should, like, that is his younger sister. And that is a toy that he does not play with. He doesn't pay attention to it. So now he's acting like younger than when he should be.
I understand what you're saying, but lately I've been feeling like that's not right.
Yeah, life is not right.
And
sometimes.
I just know, because again, you make the smaller sibling feel like because I'm small, I get everything I want. And that's not how life works either.
True.
So she needs to understand, guess what? That's not your toy. He doesn't want you playing with it. Go get something else. She has tons of toys she could play with. But no, she wants the one he has because she wants to bug him. She wants to say, no, I want to play with that one. That one. I know it's yours, but I want it. And I haven't been letting her get away with that because, again, I know exactly where you're coming from, and I know that as
because
a 10-year-old,
you're a boy mom and I'm a girl dad.
I know that as a 10-year-old, yeah, he's still a kid. He's not, he's not even close to being an adult. So I feel like it's too much of an expectation of us we are expecting him to be mature. What you're telling me is you're expecting him to be mature.
Well, I am showing him at that moment that he should be mature.
Now, I'll tell you something. When she's not around,
the words of Cena, sharing is caring.
When she's not around, I'll pull him to the side and say, Armani, she is your younger sister. You don't have to share with her, but, don't get on her level. Like, she's 5. You're bigger than her. But not in front of her. I don't want to do that in front of her because she feels like she has power over him if I do that. And I want him to see it from a perspective of, of love and care. And as the older brother, like, you should protect your little sister. And, but I also don't want him to resent her. I don't want her to grow up resenting her because, I have to do whatever she tells me because she's little. She's smaller than me. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I get it perfect all the time.
It's parenting.
I've definitely had my moments where I'm like just fed up and I'm like, dáselo. But I really try not to do that because, I want them to get along. I don't want them to grow up, having resentfulness with each other or feeling like, mommy loves Zena better or she loves Armani better. I love both of my kids equally. And I would never want any one of them to feel like I love the other more.
Yeah.
So I'm very careful with how I choose my words and how I treat them. I try to be as fair as I possibly can.
That's a fact.
No parent is perfect. Again, don't beat yourself up because maybe yesterday you did it wrong or maybe you did the opposite of what I just said. Like I said, I haven't always done it the correct way. But, there's been instances where, for example, I've made a decision on the spot and then Armani will point out, well, that's not fair because this, and that. And then I take myself back and I think about it and I'm like, you know what, you're right. And I will tell him, you're right. My mistake. Like that's not right. Zena, like whatever it is, give it to him or whatever the discussion is, I will tell him like that you're right. And because we're not always right.
Yeah, and we're also talking based off our experience with 2 kids because parents that have 3 kids and 4 kids, like that's a whole nother thing that we can't even talk about because we haven't been there. And again,
especially if they're all little.
Yeah, that must be like a war zone. Battle Royale.
Yeah. But it's not about being perfect parents because nobody is a perfect parent. No matter how perfect you may think they are, they're not. Everybody has a ticking point. Everybody has a day where they're just frustrated and they can't deal with it. But it's really about teaching your kids that we're not perfect. That I always feel like that is the key. Mm-hmm. That is the key. Making sure your kids even understand that as parents, we're not perfect. We may be wiser. We may have more years of experience because we've been in this world for more years than they have. But we even still make mistakes. And it's okay. Like at the end of the day, it's about coming back and understanding that we're a family and that we love each other no matter what. And that we're not backstabbing anyone. We're not envious of anyone in our family. We're not competing against each other. Like we are a team.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. You're a good parent.
I'm a good parent?
You're a great parent.
I'm a great parent?
You're not Stanley parent.
Oh, my God.
That's it for today's episode, you guys. Take it away. Jessica Nunez.
That's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Until next time.
Peace.